We're back. I'm doing great. I just don't know what we did to Justin Trudeau. I mean, I think he put the horns on us as Yanks taking stealing one of their national treasures. And I guess without further ado or don't, we're already 9 minutes late. Why don't we introduce our amazingly talented guest who has one of the most beautiful books out there right now on crowdfunding, Miss Meredith Finch. Are you there, Mrs. Finch?
I'm here.
Yay!
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I have to say, the minute I saw Colin's artwork, I ran upstairs. I woke Dave up that day. I was like, Dave, you got to see this. Because I could not believe that, because we put it out on Facebook, that I could get somebody so talented and so perfectly in line with what I envisioned for the book.
Well, now that we brought Colin into this, and before we get into the book, how did you hook up with him?
Facebook.
Oh, so you did? Did you put it out there on Facebook like, I'm looking for an artist?
That's exactly what I did, because I said, working in the industry, I certainly know my fair share of reps for artists, but I knew I didn't want a traditional superhero look for the book, because it's not a superhero book.
Right.
And Dave was like, Meredith, you should just put it out on Facebook and see what you get. And I was like, I don't know, Facebook. He's like, no, go ahead, try. So I did, because, never know.
Yeah.
And the first day I was overwhelmed by portfolio submissions and people saying, I'd love to work with you. But we had phenomenal people applying for the job, but I had such a specific look that I wanted. And I went to bed that night and I was like, oh, I don't know if we're going to find, and I prayed about it, because it's a book from the Bible. And I was like, Lord, help me. If this is a book that you want me to do, then I need you to help me find the right artist for it. And I woke up that morning, I came downstairs, I got my cup of tea, I sat down on my computer and I opened my Facebook, and then I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it was the very first thing I opened that morning was Colin's portfolio.
Wow.
And I have to do a huge, while we're doing this, I just have to give a huge shout out to Tom Nile. God rest his soul, because he's the one who saw our Facebook post and sent it to Colin, because he was Colin's professor. And said, Colin, you should apply for this. So I really feel that if it hadn't been for Tom, this book wouldn't have happened. Like, he was instrumental in the Book of Ruth happening and Colin and I coming together.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's fantastic.
And because, and it is, for those of you that know the Old Testament, and, the Book of Ruth is one of the most important books of the Old Testament too. But can you give us a little background on the Book of Ruth for those that may not know, and why you chose that, what drew you to it, and how you came about it? You can do anything. With all your mainstream work and you've been doing this for quite a while now. You are an A-lister, you're a big name, and then you decide, I'm going to do my first funded comic, and you do this beautifully haunting, atmospheric, really important story. Really important story in the lives of so many people, millions, for how many thousands of years. And so what brought you to this point? And, just give us a background on that.
I think Ruth is probably one of the most accessible books in the entire Bible, Old and New Testament, because it's only 4 chapters. And it's not written in a language that sets itself sort of above you. It's a very accessible language for the book as well. And it's a story we can all relate to. It's a woman who it's 2 women who go through this journey together of losing everything. And then by the end of the story, they've gained everything that could be possible to gain. At the end of the story, Ruth is the beginning of the Messianic line, right?
Yeah. So
part of it was that it's such an accessible story, and And I read that, like, when I think about my journey sort of through the Bible, that was one of the first books that I read that I really could understand and take in what was happening. Like, I didn't feel off put by the he begat so and so begat so and that kind of Old Testament sort of, it gets a little much at times, especially if you're new to the Bible.
Right.
And a few years ago, I started, I've always had a strong faith, but a few years ago I started reading C.S. Lewis in his religious writings.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt more and more a deepening and an awakening of my relationship with my faith and with God. And as I was going through this, I think even when I was working on Wonder Woman, in the back of my mind was this idea that why couldn't these stories, these awesome stories, be done in comic form in a way that people could really love?
Yes.
And I think, like, that really percolated around for years and years and years. I mean, all through, working on Rose and Wonder Woman. And it wasn't until Ig and I had talked about ending Rose, because he was getting offers from both Marvel and DC to do more work. I was taking on the project with Dynamite to do Xena, and then I was also doing The Light Princess with Cave. Mm-hmm. And I think we were both feeling like maybe we just need to take a break from Rose for a minute and sort of see where that book has taken us. And as I was coming to the end of Rose, I was kind of like, what would my next create-your-own project be? And it was just perfect timing. I just felt like that now is the time. Like, I know how that story is going to look in my mind. Like, I've thought about it so much. I know exactly the timeline the time frame. I knew I wanted it to be in the Great Depression. I knew how I wanted it to look, and it just was the perfect time. And I got Colin, so clearly it really was the perfect time.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
It really was meant to be.
Yes, it's a beautiful book. I mean, it was funny. We did a shout out for your Kickstarter a few episodes ago, and even my mother actually called me and goes, "That book is beautiful." I believe she backed it, and she's not a collector of comics. Yeah. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that artwork was beautiful, and the covers look amazing, and that video they had on there." She's like, "I got goosebumps from it," and she absolutely loved it.
You have to send me your name so when I sign it, I can put like a little note in there personally for her.
I will. I'll email it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. But now, what I'd love to do, if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of get into a little bit of of your origin story. How did you get into comics? For any of our viewers out there that aren't familiar with some of your work or what you've done, or would like to know a little bit more about you, how did you get into comic book writing?
It's all David's fault. So for people who don't know, I'm married to David Finch, who is a comic book penciler. He's done some stuff. A little bit of DC stuff, a little bit of Marvel stuff. But when I met him, I was a single mom. I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I'd been on my own for almost 2 full years. And I was like, okay, I think maybe it's time I'll start dating. And I met him online, which nowadays seems totally cool.
Yeah.
But 15 years ago, you were taking your life in your hands.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if you're a woman. So it's like, okay, well, my deal was, if I was going to go on a date with somebody, I wasn't going to spend 6 months chatting on the internet. I wanted to meet you. So I was like, okay, let's go. Maybe we'll have lunch or a cup of coffee. And he invited me out for lunch. And when he told me he did comics, I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah, so I was going to say that was it the allure of I'm a comic book artist. And you're like, oh, my God, yes, that's so wonderful.
I was like, oh crap. I was like, do you live in your mom's basement? I already have kids I'm supporting by myself. No, and it's so funny because at that date, I always joke, because when he said comics, I legitimately thought he meant like comic strip comics. I was like, oh, which one? Like, I knew it wasn't for better or for worse, but you know what I mean? Like, which one of the newspaper are you doing? Yeah. He's like, no, it's not that way. And at the end of our date, he took me out to his car so he could show me that he drove a BMW. So he had at least enough money to pay for a BMW lease.
Yeah, right.
And he had comics in the back of his car, which he gave to me so he could show me that he legitimately had a job. And his name was on the comic and everything.
He enticed you in. So he wasn't the kind of guy that like, yeah, I draw comics.
The only problem with that is that he gave to a mom of 2 children the Avengers Disassembled issue where She-Hulk is ripping the Vision apart.
Oh.
And
you know, he did that. Isn't that amazing?
Yes. I mean, now I can look back and go, that's an amazing double-page spread. Yeah. But at the time, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
Do I want another day? I have small children I need to protect.
Right.
But anybody who's met David knows he's so sweet and so genuine that, you know, I gave him another chance, and I guess the rest is history. And for a long time, he would say, Meredith, you got to read this comic. I'm like, no.
Oh.
I read books. You read comics.
Right.
And there was a lot. And it wasn't until I read Daredevil by Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I think I was literally sitting in Dave's office. We were going to go out for lunch, and he's finishing a page. I'm like, or finishing a panel, whatever he was doing. I'm like, okay, I'm flipping through this Daredevil. I'm like, he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm like, yeah, just a minute. And I just could not put it down. And that was the moment where I was like, I think I could really enjoy comics.
No,
that's awesome.
And then it just kind of went from there. Yeah. Jeff Johns.
You tell Debbie that story. She's read one comic aside from copy editing mine. She read 300 and she loved it when it first came out. Way back.
There's a gateway drug for everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, because she's like, no. I'm like, she's like, no. Now, so did you get into it because you're like, did you start critiquing some of the stuff he was working on and then you had your own ideas, or did you start like we all do to our significant others? Nile, I'm sure you do that to Farah, right? And like, well, then I've got this story, I've got an idea, and you just start
I do that, and then I go, right? Are you listening? Did you hear me? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just read this comic. Just read it. Yeah. No, I won't read it. I'm like, just read it. One day you will read.
Did you start doing that to him while he's trying to work, and then you're just telling your own story? And was he like, why don't you just write your own comic?
I wish it was that cool, because it's not. First of all, I'm always very careful to say, like, what are you doing? And if something's not right, I'm like, are you sure that face is like totally 100% the way you want it to be? Because I don't critique the artwork as a general rule unless something's really off. But it was, I don't know. Actually, I do know. 2013, my very best friend had a really terrible accident. She was putting the cover on her boat and she fell off, and she fell into shallow water and she broke her neck.
Oh my God.
And she broke her neck at the C1 and the C3 and ended up in the hospital on a ventilator. And I was really struggling. Part of how I've always dealt with traumatic events in my life has been to write about them. And so I was really struggling with how I was feeling about what was happening. And I started writing about it, and I had left it on the kitchen counter. And Dave came by and he found it, and he said to me, our youngest at the time was 5. He said, Meredith, the kids are all old enough, they're all in school. You're a great writer. You have this ability to create emotion and to visualize things with your writing. And I really feel like he said, I've told you before that I think you should write. He said, I'm not going to take no for an answer now. And that he went to Dynamite, I think it was at New York Comic Con that year, and said, look, or no, it wasn't Dynamite, it was Zenoscope. Mm-hmm. And said, listen, I'll trade you covers if you'll give Meredith a chance, because I think she's really good. And that's how I got my first writing gig. So if you see some Dynamite or some Zenoscope covers from that era, when I was doing like The Cowardly Lion and the Tales of Terror, that would be why those happened. And then, but I mean, at the end of the day, what I was doing was strong enough on its own that they said, Meredith, we would really like for you to write the Little Mermaid story. And so I did the Little Mermaid story with Miguel Mendonca, who's now at DC. And off of that Little Mermaid story, I got the opportunity to pitch for Wonder Woman with David, and then it just kind of went from there. So been incredibly blessed, but that start really did come from a very difficult time and situation in my life.
Wow.
That's horrific.
I pretend that doesn't happen sometimes because it's tough because she's passed on now. Yeah, about 2 years ago this January, she passed on.
Sorry for the loss of your friend.
Yeah. Terrible.
It's hard when you're the same age, and you know. But
yeah, and it's something like that. You know, yeah, and especially that it's an accident that might have led to it, and you know, it's like things aren't supposed to happen to us, especially your best friends, and you know, my wife. Yeah, my wife lost her best friend too, and it's terrible because, as you know, it never gets easy. You never get over it.
No, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her and miss her.
Yep. Yeah. So now that, like I said, so it's amazing. Like I said, the Book of Ruth seems like you have this real personal attachment to that story, even with your struggles, which you've gone through personally. And is that what kind of led that to? Because I mean, let's be honest. If you had done one of the Old Testament stories, Cain versus Abel or something, you know what I mean, with someone, you know, the fights, the murder, the action, Samson, you know, and Delilah, all these, you know, pulling down the columns, you know, those things are so much more commercially viable, right?
They're very dynamic.
You're telling a very, like I said, haunting personal story. There's some terrifying moments, right? I mean, I remember looking at Colin's pages when you sent me the book, the PDF, you know, for me to do, you know, the cover for it, and it's got a real Hitchcockian feel to it. You know, and I'm just wondering, you know, I would assume, I know I'm talking a lot and I'm not asking the question, but I assume that, I guess, out of your personal experiences of your own life, and then with your friend, is that what kind of made you choose Ruth over, say, some of the more commercially, you know what I mean, acceptable for a wider audience or something?
Sure. I think part of it is understanding what you as a writer or what you as an artist have to bring to the table. And I think my strength as a writer is in my ability to communicate emotions through my characters and to write those relationships. And the story of Ruth is such a powerful story in the sense that, you know, there's this woman who loses everything and still has such a strong faith. And is able to just walk away from a life that she's known into the unknown and say, it's going to be okay. And at the end, it really is. It's okay in an incredible way. And I think that faith is something that I strive for all the time.
Right.
And I think everybody who has faith strives for that ability to just say, I believe unconditionally, because we're not meant, like, we're not geared that way, or I'm certainly not. I question all the time. And so that faith journey is such a struggle for me that I really appreciated. I feel like I'm much more Naomi in the story than I am Ruth. You know, Naomi is constantly trying to manipulate events and situations to work them out for herself, whereas Ruth is just, she's pure. Like, you know, you meet those people in your life, and I've met a couple of them, and thank God and I don't even know what I did, but I've been blessed enough to be raising one of them who are just pure, who just have like an unconditional joy and love, and there's something about their soul that you can see that just doesn't have the same. Maybe they're just a little bit like one step closer to heaven than the rest of us.
Right.
And I felt that with Ruth in that story, and I think because it's something I aspired to, it was something I really wanted to explore, and also be honest about sort of the things that she really must have gone through that get glossed over in that the biblical story because it's condensed into 4 chapters. I don't think it would have been easy for two women in a strange land, even though they were coming from Moab back to Israel. I don't think it would have been an easy situation for them.
Yes.
And that kind of gets glossed over, like everything is great. So I wanted to explore that and the kinds of risks that Ruth took to do what she did for herself and the love for Naomi.
And Meredith, TJ James asks, Meredith, did you approach any of the publishers with this pitch for this book, or did you go straight to crowdfunding?
No, I've had a few people ask me that question. Mm-hmm. I was really hesitant to approach a publisher with it for a couple of reasons. I thought, it's a very strong faith-based book, and I wasn't convinced that a publisher would necessarily pick it up. And if a publisher did pick it up, I didn't want to see it get relegated to like page 456 at the bottom of the previews catalog.
Yeah.
So I felt like crowdfunding is a way to make a big impact, because it's kind of like another form of social media nowadays. It's like a different form of spreading the word about a project. And I thought if I could get enough of a backing behind it through crowdfunding, then it says to a publisher, hey, maybe there is a market for this kind of story. And I think it makes them sit up and take notice, as opposed to, well, it's Meredith Finch, and she might do something someday that we want to publish, so we'll put this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to make sure that it got the time and attention that this story deserved. And I hate to say I wasn't convinced that would happen. Maybe I'm doing Image or some of the other publishers a disservice by saying that. Mm-hmm. But this is how I felt called to put the book out.
Mm-hmm. It's great, and follow your heart. And what's great about doing this is that you have this direct connection to the fans, mm-hmm. and then you could say, look how much money this book made. Yeah. And you're right, they will take notice. But the cool thing is that the people are speaking. It's not it's not a retailer suggesting you buy this, or not like a mainstream marketing department telling a retailer he has to buy this. Everything you sell is being purchased by someone who's literally it's one-stop shopping. I mean, it's literally someone who's taking money out of their own pocket and showing you that they believe in you.
Yes.
And that speaks volumes. That is how loud is that voice? And the luxury now you have that is that when you do get funded, thank you, and you will get funded. And then once you get funded, though, now you produce this book and you put it out, you can go anywhere with it now.
Oh yeah,
the book is done. Here you go. You can go to Image. There is no here's your book.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important to say too, because I did set a big goal, and there was something that before the Kickstarter launched, I struggled with a lot, because I know there are a lot of independent comics that have much smaller goals in terms of Kickstarter. But the fact of the matter is that Colin has worked on this book for almost 2 full years.
Wow.
And this is the amount of money that I didn't ask to make money for myself. This is the amount I've invested on some level in this book.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is, in some ways, supporting this book is saying that we want more. It's like, if this book gets funded, then Colin and I can say, because we already have an idea of what we'd like to do next, saying that there's a market for this book. People want to see this kind of material. They want to see it done in this way. Because I think it's important for people to know that I'm not looking to pay a mortgage off of this Kickstarter. I'm not looking to go buy a new car off this Kickstarter. If we hit this Kickstarter, what it means is I've recouped a portion of the amount I've invested already, and we can do this again.
Yes.
Very good.
And you also have to think, and be honest too, that it's a business too. This is a business venture. Of course, it's something extremely close to your heart and personal, and a story that should be out there. But this is also a business. And I mean, I can tell you, and Nile, I'm sure that you. God bless you, Nile. I'm sure you have projects that weren't fulfilled, right? I'm sure you have Kickstarters that weren't fulfilled for your that you've. I'm sorry, that were funded, but you haven't gotten them yet. And
Oh
I think
yeah.
a lot of people. I think what happens too is a lot of people aren't honest, and they want to put. I need $5,000 to put this book together.
Yeah.
And they make 6,000. In reality, they need 20,000, but they want to make that goal, and then they do get that goal. They do get fulfilled, and now here we are 4 years later, waiting for that book still.
Yeah. There's one I gave up on.
Yeah, they're right. Absolutely.
I don't even know.
And yep, and it's kind of like, and you don't blame them, because now doing what we're doing, and that you're doing it now, and Nile. I mean, this is our 76th show, and Nile is starting to put together his own book, and you get it. But that's not helping anyone. For you to have a real low, you know what I mean, a real low goal to get that book funded, and then it's not enough for you to publish it, to print it.
Yeah. No, it's true. People I think don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
When you complain about the cost of a comic that you're buying on the shelf.
Right.
What you're not understanding is that comic paid for its writer. It paid for its artist. It paid for its colorist. It paid for its letterer. It paid for the editors. It paid for the printing. Like, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot pays for shipping that be distributed.
The shipping supplies. I mean, I was opening like these boxes right here. I got the one from Brian Pulido's book came out today, and I opened it. And these things are like 60 cents each just off the bat. For these boxes, and then bubble wrap, backing boards, bags, and then even on top of that, someone says, "Oh my, this person made, $100,000 off of this Kickstarter or this Indiegogo." But people don't realize is that the platform takes 10%.
Yeah.
So they made 90,000. So there's $10,000 that goes to that.
Yeah.
So it is a tough thing.
There's a lot of cost involved that people don't understand.
And that's the thing too. People don't understand that maybe, like, if you look at your Kickstarter, Billy, your page rate to draw a comic is, X.
Yeah.
Which means that for you to take the time away from a major publisher like DC or Marvel, that's a sacrifice that you're making in your income and your quality of life to be able to do something special. It's like an investment in yourself. And I think, we're very blessed to work in an industry where we have the opportunity to do a Kickstarter, and people are so incredibly supportive. And I think that fans, at the end of the day, do understand. The fans who support the Kickstarter, they do it for a reason, because they do understand.
Yes.
Producing a comic book has value and takes time, and there's a certain amount of cost involved in doing it. So I hope everybody who gets the Book of Ruth, because it's going to come out, right? We're putting that out there.
Yeah, it's going out there. It's getting funded. And let's head over to your Kickstarter page.
I don't even look. I don't want to go now.
All right. So you are currently at so you have a goal of $22,540. You're currently at $12,378. You have 176 backers, and there's 9 days to go. So everyone, check this out. Share this book. If you like what you see, back it. Sometimes we don't always have the funds every month, right, to support some of these great campaigns, but you can always share it. So, please share it on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, any form of social media you're using. Please share the word of the Book of Ruth that's out on Kickstarter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video for you guys so you guys can see some of the beautiful art that's in this book. Absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. You have the only campaign video so far in the 76 shows that I've done that gives me goosebumps.
Oh,
I think with the imagery and the music you have, like I was like, oh man, I was actually trying to. I've got other cameras here. I was like, I'm about to turn one on so I could show my arm, but I was like, I don't want to ruin it. I love it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous,
Thank-
gorgeous.
Hey.
Explain the red scarf. I noticed everything's pretty much in black and white except what appears to be this red scarf. Is that symbolic to something within the story? Is it an aesthetic thing?
No, there's a, I had to play with the story a little bit because there are things that happen in the biblical story that I think wouldn't necessarily translate into the 21st century or the 20th century, which is the time of the Great Depression. And some of them are things like in the biblical story, Boaz, Ruth lays at Boaz's feet on the threshing room floor and he puts his cape over her. And I think people would be like, what does that mean? That's weird. I mean, I know when I read, I was like, what does that mean? That's weird. If you're not in on sort of old school Jewish tradition and faith, you'd have no idea what that meant. So I tweaked that in the story and you see him, and we showed that panel where he's putting his coat around her. And so I use that as the same way of symbolizing that he's covering her with his protection by putting his coat over her. It means the same thing. But when he does that, and Ruth goes back to Naomi the next day, in the story, in the original story, Boaz gives Ruth, I think, a bushel of wheat and says, take this back to Naomi. And I thought, I want him to send a gift back, but a bushel of wheat, like, it didn't really feel meaningful or significant. And so we did the scarf. And that's the only sort of, that at that moment when he gives that gift to Ruth, it's his way of saying, it's another way of him saying, I'm going to take care of you. That whatever struggles the two of you have been going through, you're under my protection now. And it's sort of like a sealing of that covenant. And so we use that red scarf as a means of visually marking that covenant sealing, where he's going to take care of them and make sure that they are no longer going to struggle. So that's why we have that one pop of red, which means that the entire comic will be printed in color.
Yes.
Even. But
which is 4 times as much money as printing it in black and white.
It is, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's totally worth it because it's a really significant moment, and it makes it something special.
Yeah.
And at the end of the book, you'll see that red scarf again.
Oh, beautiful! And this is Colin's first graphic novel.
He did another one when I hired him. He was working on another graphic novel. It was more of an army style. There were helicopters and stuff. I'm not sure if that one's been published or not. He's also done work, and I'm the worst because it's like either on, I think there's like the Noah's Ark thing. There's like he's done work for the Noah's Ark, where you can go and walk through the Ark.
Oh, wow.
He's done, some of his artwork's been there as well. So, but this will be like, when this comes out, I think this will be his first big his comic debut, really.
Wow, yeah, his work's beautiful. Now, is this your first intro into crowdfunding comics, or crowdfunding, or have you done anything else?
I mean, I've supported some crowdfundings before I did this, but no, I am a crowdfunding novice. So as we've gone through this, I've been like, how do I do this? What do I do? And, I've been learning as I go, but I feel really grateful because I do have a lot of friends who step up and said, I can help you with this, or you can find information out here. And obviously you guys were so kind, Billy, because first of all, you did a cover for the book, which everybody saw, which is like, it's stunning.
It was an honor. It really was. And it was, and please guys, anybody who's a Tucci fan, Tucci Troopers out there, please check it out. My cover's there. And it was an honor to do it. It was I love the story of Ruth as well. and you've got Lee Weeks, and you've got David on it. I mean, and look at the production values of the book and the art. It's. I mean, you're talking. I read it, and I would submit it to the Eisner Awards.
Aww.
I really would. You really should. I mean, it's that great.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. And I think it's brilliant. But what made you put it in during the Depression?
I felt like when you look at that story, because the story is about the rise and fall of a family, right? Like that's each chapter in the story is intended to show that sort of, from abundance into poverty, poverty into abundance, back into poverty, and then back into abundance. So, when you open in the Book of Ruth, Naomi and Eli Melech, who in my book I called Eli and gave them the last name Melech because I felt like that would be, again, bringing it up to making it current.
Right.
But they have to leave because there's a famine. And so I was kind of looking like, when were the times in American history when we had this sort of huge famine where people were displaced? And I knew I wanted to make it as at least tied to places that were current as much as possible. So there is actually a place called Bethlehem, Texas. So I'm like, well, is there a place? Is there a time in Texas when they had a famine or a drought? Mm-hmm. And there was right at the end of the 18th century. And then I thought, well, that really works perfectly because then we tie into this, you leave during this time of famine and you go somewhere different. What about New York State? Because that's the time after the end of the First World War that they really experienced this huge surge because of the stock market. Everybody was very excited about investing and this new thing. And then you have there's no other time in American history where you have such a crash for people, both from a material point of view, but also from an emotional and a personal point of view. And I thought that I could not think of a time that more perfectly reflected what was going on from a spiritual point of view within the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely. And it is powerful because, again, people lost everything. And you think of this great victory of World War I and then the Roaring Twenties. Mm-hmm. And, people were being affluent for the first time, and then bam, like I said, and that coincided with the Dust Bowl, and I think it's just brilliant. And it really is one of the most beautiful books we've had the honor of being on. And you guys,
maybe I need to give credit to Divine Inspiration for that too, because, I prayed a lot about this book, and over this book. And I have to say I'm very fortunate because our very best friends are our priest and his wife. So when I was doing the book, I would write it up and I'd be like, hey, Lance, let's talk about the Book of Ruth. And he was really instrumental in pointing out those things, like those customs, and explaining the book in a way that I might not have understood it prior to doing this.
Now, if let's just hypothetically, if you don't get funded, because some people are asking in the chat, if
Sure.
the Kickstarter doesn't get funded, where will you go next, or where will the Book of Ruth be?
It's still going to come out.
It's still
and you got to do Indiegogo. You should definitely do Indiegogo as well.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'll take Billy's advice. I'll do Indiegogo.
You built the whole engine. You built it all. It's going to be. It's not easy, but it's going to be probably an eighth of the work of that you already put in, because you put in all the lion's share of work. You're just going to have to copy some. Sure. The rewards and put it in, but it's kind of the same. You'll learn. You can do it in a few hours.
Okay.
But this will be funded, by the grace of God. It will, but also. But why not go with Indiegogo? Try to reach that greatest audience as possible, because this is such an important story. It is such a beautiful book that you want people to read this. And we've learned, Nile and I, that Indiegogo and Kickstarter is almost like Ford and Chevy. There are people that
really?
just will not, no matter what, buy on Kickstarter.
Oh,
And vice versa. Yeah.
Yep.
oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're comfortable in their platform that they have. They want to stick with that platform, and that's a great book. But
They don't want to support anything for either platform or whatnot due to whatever personal beliefs they have with it or what have you. But I have a question for you that I do want to ask, because you have the variant covers, and each variant cover is just so beautifully done. What made you, and not to put you on the spot because you had one of the artists here, but what made you decide, or how did you choose artists that would do the variant covers for your book?
So Dave and I threw out the idea of because we know a lot of artists in the industry, obviously, who I wanted to do variant covers for. And at the end of the day, because this is a faith-based book, and I wanted the people who worked on the book, and that includes everybody who's worked on the book. So from myself to Colin to the letterer, I wanted everybody to have some sort of degree of faith, because I think that affects what we're doing here. So I only reached out to artists that I knew believed in sort of what we were doing and had an openness about their faith. So, I'm not outing anybody.
No.
It's good. You believe in your book.
It's sad for you to say that. That I'm not outing, but it was an honor to work with you on this, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
For asking me. Really, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I feel privileged to be a part of it, because it is so special, and you are. David is. Lee. I haven't met Colin yet, but I can't wait to meet him. And guys and people, everyone out there, please check it out. It is really one of the most beautiful comics I've ever seen. And it's funny calling it a comic, because it doesn't look like a comic. It looks like a fully painted,
It's like a masterpiece.
You hold it in your hand, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is a comic book.
Now, will any versions of the book, if funded, will they be hardcover, or is everything going to be a paperback?
No, I did actually this week, when we hit 50%, I offered a hardcover version. So you can get the main cover in a hardcover version now. So for $20, and that is like literally at cost, because I priced it out.
Very cool. Now, what's next for you? I mean, if you get funded here, you move on. Do you plan on continuing, also doing crowdfunding as well as your mainstream work?
I'm very blessed, because David has been working in the industry for as long as he has, that I get to sort of pick and choose the projects that I do at this point in my career based on what I feel I can add to from a character point of view and from a spiritual point of view that speak to me. I think that my next, I know when I think about what my next create your own project would be, I know what story is speaking to me. But then David also would like to do a create your own project at some point.
Great.
But that one, I don't know. He's got a lot of other stuff going on, so that might be a few years in the future.
He'll get to it. Yeah. He'll get to it when he gets to it.
That's right. You artists, we writers, we can do like 3 books a month. I mean, I know there are some that do more, but no. And I'm a mom. I homeschool our youngest now, so I don't have a lot of free time for my writing anymore, which means that I'm very specific and very careful with the projects that I pick to devote that time to now. So I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like I would love to do another Marvel or DC book, but it would have to be, it's not something I'm pitching for anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody approached me, I would say, sure, if I felt like I could add to the character, but I just like telling my stories. I think that's where with Rose, with Ruth, actually I found that a lot with the Cave books that I did, the Cave Pictures Publishing, The Light Princess, and the book that's coming out next year, Fantasties. Those are the stories that I feel such a strong connection to. So Maybe that's the direction I'm going.
Well, that's what's important to you, you know. I mean, and if especially if you have that luxury to be able to pick and choose what you really love. I mean, man, right? What better gift is there than that?
Yeah.
Career wise, not family, children, and
Yeah.
you know. I mean, and it's great, and because you are one of the good ones. Both of you guys are both amazing people. You really are. I mean, and it's always great to see you guys. You always find time to say hello to everybody because you know how busy the shows get. And it's just so nice seeing your smile and having dinner with you and all. And I mean, you really are. You know, my wife adores you. So, you know, we
the feeling's mutual. So we'll have to have a love fest later.
Yeah. And it's just great because I too feel, you know, how blessed I am that I've got such great friends, and that, you know, that I've been friends with, that I've been doing this for 25 years, and from all across the spectrum, you know, indie people, mainstream people, you know, editors, you know, retailers, you know, fans, you know, a lot of fans have become some of my best friends. And it's just nice. I mean, like I said, we're really blessed to be in this industry.
I think it would be great if this Kickstarter did really well, because then it becomes sort of, it gives an awareness to the major publishers that maybe there's an opportunity here, a market that's being missed, that there's a way to do these types of stories that people respond to.
Yep.
And that's my hope, that it's more than just a Bible comic. It's a beautiful comic.
Right. And it is. It really is. And it's a beautiful story. I mean, and people could read it who you know, people don't have to be, you know, scholars or even have ever read the Old Testament to enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's just how stunning it is. I mean, it really is. Beautiful.
I think there was a few people on my Kickstarter who were like, Meredith, I wasn't going to get this, but then you said, it's just a great story.
Yeah.
I had to get it. Because it is just a great story.
Yep. That's it.
And you know what? A lot of books and characters things are actually, you know, there's a lot of influence. You know, influence based on, you know, Old Testament, New Testament stuff, stories. I mean, a lot of that influences, I mean, you know, look at our superheroes and stuff now. If you go back to where it kind of all came from, right?
Yeah.
Look at Superman. I mean, come on. You know, it is. So, well, you're doing it right, and this will be successful. I mean, you're in great shape. You're halfway. You've got over a week.
I know. I'm like,
you're Meredith Finch.
So close to halfway.
I know, but you know that's how it. This is your first time. You know, I'm telling you, when you do the next one, you're like, yeah, I got a week. It'll be good. It'll be fine. You know,
you just gotta hit that social media. Just keep promoting.
I keep tweeting it and Facebook, and I'm like, oh, come on, Facebook, come on.
Facebook Live, because a lot of people, you know, a lot of younger people are like, Facebook, but the majority of our backers came, especially with Kickstarter, all came from my Facebook friends by going Facebook Live. Okay. And just talking about it, and have Debbie come up here and yell at me and stuff like that because I'm saying something wrong, you know, or.
So I should have Dave come up and yell at me?
Yeah, I think you should. Or I can't see him yelling at anyone. I'd love to see him yell. Damn it!
No.
Like throw a glass against the wall or something. No.
I won't show you the dents in the wall behind me.
Oh no! Oh no! I what happened? Oh, I fell.
You artists, you're all so passionate.
Yeah, lunatics. That's who we are. Well, I don't know if you do. Like my wife has done several. It's like, why don't you just go upstairs and draw a page?
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah, like you just can't just go upstairs and draw a page. You got to be prepared. Like, we're on vacation. I have a deadline. Yeah. We went to Cancun. It's like, oh, just go upstairs, finish that page. I'm like, you're all sitting on the beach, and I had the windows open, and I hear my kids laughing and stuff, and I'm like this.
Billy, Dave feels your pain.
Yeah.
We went to my cousin's wedding in Jamaica, and Dave brought a page with him.
And you put in the work.
Yep.
And he hears the laughter and the steel drums. And
everybody's on the beach. And we take him up a drink. How's the page coming?
Yeah. Okay, fine. So you keep going. You're doing a great job, right?
You're almost done, baby.
Yeah, he's got a grumpy cat mask on.
Yeah.
Because that was, I'm sure, his expression.
For sure, yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. So, one question that was asked is your book Rose. Where can so I posted the image of the cover up, and so some people are interested in that. Where can they get Rose?
You can, I'm pretty sure most comic book stores you can still get it from, but if you can't get it there, you can certainly get it on Amazon and Image. I'm sure you can order it directly through the Image website as well.
All right,
It is a comic that, you can even get a digital download through Comixology. Is that right?
Yep. Comixology.
Yep.
I'm so not.
She's like, yeah, I think it's on something. I don't know, some kind of stream somewhere.
It goes on like the screen that you can touch. The touching
Where do you
screens.
get it? I don't know.
I don't have to pay attention to
I've
those
got a bunch
things.
in my basement. If you really have trouble finding one, send me text.
Well, yeah, I think your husband is sitting on them while he draws because you moved him down to the
They might have
basement.
elevated his desk so that he could stand at it.
Oh, that's funny. So tonight, if you don't mind, Meredith, I'd love to. We've got a crowdfunding call out. So we do every episode. We do a crowdfunding call out, and we highlight a good project that's up right now. And tonight, we actually happen to have another Kickstarter, and this one is for Tokyo Blade Detectives #1. So I'm going to play the video for everyone so they can check this out.
Hello, Kickstarter. I'm back. That's right, I am Todd Black, and I'm here today to pitch you my next comic project. It's called Tokyo Blade Detectives. Now, this is what I like to call an anime-style comic because it looks like an anime, at times it sounds like an anime, it has the style of an anime, and it's also set in Japan, so that helps too. The basic story is this. It's about 200 years into the future, and Japan has gone through so much. It's been through a world war, a civil war, a complete reconstruction of the country, and now their technology is so advanced that they can do, let's just say, a menagerie of things. But there is one law that stands above all else. You cannot have a gun. And because of this, because there needs to be a power, a source of strength, they have gone and made laser swords. Yes, laser swords. You know what I'm talking about. And because of this, now there is this incredible power struggle going on in Tokyo between the government and 5 factions, each of them unique. And each of them are trying for their own goals to rule Japan, for their own means. And stuck in the middle of this is the people just trying to survive day to day, including our main character, Miko, who is very much an anime protagonist with some fun twists involved. Now, this project has been in my mind for a couple of years. It came through the most random of places, but then I started to develop it, and it just grew into something really, really special. This is what I hope to be my second ongoing comic series. So every single issue will be funded via a Kickstarter unless we get picked up by a publisher or something else happens. But it all starts right here. And that's why I need your help. So for this goal, we're having it set at $1,500. Now, what does that fund? Well, we are already hard at work at the first 10 pages of the comic. The first 5 are already here on the Kickstarter below. But by the 15th of November, we will have the first 10 colored, inked, and lettered for you to see. So stay tuned for that. Which means that the rest is being funded by you. And anything over the $1,500 is going to issue too, which I'll probably start writing during this Kickstarter as long as we get funded in a good amount of time. I've got a great team with me with Lom, Zach, and David. They are very passionate, they are very good, and I want to work with them as long as possible. So to entice you, we have plenty of rewards. You can get comics, digital, physical, including all of my past comics in Guardians, Home, and 10,000 Miles. You can get your name in the comic. You can get drawn into the comic. We have 2 special t-shirts that you can get, and so much more. We'll even help you make your own Kickstarter or your own comic if that's what you want. So if you can pledge, we thank you. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just share the project around. If you think you know someone who might pledge, show it to them. That's all we can ask of you. So I hope you'll help me with this comic project. I hope you can see how passionate I am about it. And welcome to Tokyo.
All right, everyone. There you have it. That is the Tokyo Blade Detectives #1. Check it out. This is a manga-influenced styled comic where guns are no longer allowed in Japan 200 years in the future, and laser swords are now taking the way.
And you know what? I'm not really big into manga, but I want to hang out with that dude.
I like his hair.
Yeah, me too. It's like,
So
Who doesn't
fluffy.
need a laser sword?
yeah. He might
Yeah,
be one of the
everyone
most
loves laser swords.
interesting looking people I've ever seen. Like, we got to party with this guy. This guy is awesome.
Exactly.
Sorry, I gotta let the puppy in.
Oh, no worries.
If anybody's following my Instagram, the giant dog that I now have. She's an Irish wolfhound, and
Oh, I love them.
oh yeah, she's enormous. She frisks me now, and she steals out of my back pocket. She's like, we have a pickpocket dog.
That's so awesome.
I'll be like, oh, I just stuck a Kleenex back there, and then I'll be doing the dishes. The next thing I know, she just sneaks by and takes the Kleenex, and off she goes.
That's like my son. Every time I find him, he's shredding a Kleenex, and I don't know how he gets them. Speaking of Instagram, though, how can everyone stay in touch with what you're doing and follow all the stuff that you have going on?
So I believe my Twitter is Finch Meredith 1. My Instagram is at Finch Meredith 1. Pretty sure my Facebook page is Finch Meredith 1 because somebody took Finch Meredith Finch. So now, so I'm number 1. Well done.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, you're amazing. Your book is amazing. I can't wait for this to be funded. I'm going to pledge tomorrow. I'm going to pledge now.
You.
Why not? I'll probably pledge now. It's so weird sometimes that I'm in, and then sometimes it's like, oh, put your credit card in.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Isn't that right? Why is that? Like, why isn't it just automatic? Or they could hook it up to PayPal so it just has you in there.
Yeah.
Then I got to run downstairs and get my wallet, which I never know where it is.
Oh, you're not doing internet shopping because my credit card number is memorized.
Oh, okay.
My wife does that too. She's like, you don't know your card number? She's just like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Because I'll be doing the show, and I'll be like, oh, I want to back this. And so I like, this screen will be going on. Everyone's chatting, and I'm over on this other monitor. And then it's like, please enter your credit card number. I'm like, no, it should be in there. And then I'm like, I'll do it later.
Yeah. Well, I even think, like, Debbie even knows my social security number since college.
Oh.
Like, I told her once or something, and we had to do something, and she remembered it. Like, I think hers starts with 151, but I could be wrong. I probably am.
You probably shouldn't figure it out over the air.
Yeah, I'll give it out there. Why not?
Well, Billy.
Well, thank you, Meredith. This has been wonderful. Let's go to Kickstarter. Let's share this. Everybody, please pledge if you can. If you can't, share it. All right? Share it on social media. Tag her. Heck, tag David. He's, super famous, super A-lister. Tag him in it too. And he won't get angry and punch holes in your wall at your house.
He's just practicing. He's warming up the wrist for the drawing table.
We've got him on medication now. It's totally fine.
There you go. All right, Meredith. And as always, anyone that's on the show, you become part of the Crowdfunding Comics family. If you have anything going on, anything new you want to come on the show, just let us know. We'll get you right back on. Or if you know anyone else that has a good project coming up that you think would be a good fit for the show, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for taking the time out to talk to me tonight.
Oh, no. It's an honor to have you on.
Yep.
We appreciate
and you're amazing. Your book is amazing. Colin's work is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece of art. It's like a European comic. That's how great it is.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So
everyone, thank you so much for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics tonight. And thank you again, Meredith, for being on the show. And we will be back next week with a couple more shows lining up. I think our first guest next week is going to be Adam Post, talking his latest Indiegogo. So that'll be Tuesday at 9 p.m.
All right.
All right, Billy.
All right, my friend. Great to see you. Sorry, everybody, about our little glitch.
Yes.
I hope everybody who was watching came back on, and we'll see you guys soon. See you guys. Everyone have a great weekend. Meredith, you guys have a great weekend. Give David our love. Kiss that pooch.
I will.
And pet the kids. And we'll see you soon. Great luck. You're going to have a great week this week.
Bye, everybody.
Right, bye, everyone. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell. You may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.